Hello everyone, thanks for having me today, and thank you for attending. I know it's late, and you are probably attending some party in a few minutes. So the topic today will be about the real adoption of Web3 technologies, and I'm sure that we all have a lot of in common here, believing into what Web3 is about. My name is Frédéric Montagnon. I'm an entrepreneur for 23 years now, always been tech, an engineer. And I discovered and I started my journey with Web3 almost 12 years ago now. So for my Bitcoin maximalist friends, they will be happy to know that I'm including Bitcoin into Web3. Because for me, it's a question of digital sovereignty. So first of all, when you are in this crowd and in this ecosystem, I think first of all we believe into something, and this is my case. I really believe, deeply believe, that Web3 is a set of principles of architecture that can make our digital world, our digital life, more respectful of our data and more respectful of what we do online. I think this is very important because this is the reason why we are all fighting for. Now, if we really believe into the value of Web3, we have to chase for the real adoption of Web3 technologies, and we need to be really realistic when we say we are chasing for 1 billion users. We're not talking about people who are buying Bitcoin or whatever centralized platform just to speculate and to be exposed to the price of a digital asset. We are talking about people who are really using, at a certain layer, a set of technology, a set of principles of architecture that really make their digital experience better. And it's not just holding Bitcoin on Revolut that can make a change. So when it comes to chasing for the billion users, actually there are two tracks. And I will share with you my journey in crypto. The first is we can decide to work and to build application directly for consumers, for end users. And it definitely, it's useful. And I know that a lot of people are working on developing social networks, developing financial applications, and a lot of digital asset that makes the life of directly people better. But the reality is that my close friends, my parents, essentially my mother, will never use directly a digital asset. So building application for this kind of people, maybe we can reach 1 billion people, but when? Not for the short term, and I don't even imagine where we can imagine to have random people, mainstream people using Web3 technologies directly, and realizing that it's better for their digital sovereignty to use a new application rather than Facebook. And the reality is, and I will not ask that with you today, but generally speaking, when I have a presentation, I ask to the crowd who is using WhatsApp. Of course, everyone is using WhatsApp or Telegram, or a minority of people don't use it. The reality is that we should use something else, but it's not what we do. So there is another track, which is trying to leverage people who are already in contact with end consumers, with end users, and try to solve problems for them to deploy technology, to put this technology in the hand of end users. And this is where I'm going to. Actually, making B2B, addressing people that brands have, when you see the reach of global brands, so basically every single person on earth is consuming, is buying products from brands, it means that if at a certain level you manage to solve problem at a brand, and if you manage to make them switch from Web 2.0 architecture to Web 3 architecture, you basically put in the hand of end user some technology that will definitely change their life and move the market from a place, Web 2.0, to a new place, to a new architecture. And when you go further, you think, okay, what kind of application, what can be different for brands from what they use to experience. And actually, as we are talking about the internet of ownership, Web3 is the internet of ownership, we can imagine that digital asset can represent the ownership of a real asset also. And you probably already heard about this narrative. We can use digital asset, we can use Web3 architecture, Web3 principle in order to represent the ownership of a real product. Let's say, as an example, for a watch. And this ownership can be represented by an NFT, which is a base layer for building other application, other experience, other relation with a brand and a consumer. And at Arianee, and I would like to share with you what we our insights and our journey. This is what we thought from day one. We thought, okay, we will try to create a new architecture, a new base layer for brands to recreate a direct connection with their consumer, not using centralized, opaque, and black box platform, but to regain control over the relation directly with no intermediaries, and which doesn't need actually to get personal information from the user, and recreate a direct connection with them to rebuild what they used to use today with Web 2.0 platform. Basically today, there are few challenges in front of them. Doesn't work anymore, but okay. There are three challenges today, very short term, that the brands have to address. The first is circularity. Today, there is a huge pressure onto brands to make their products more circulable, which means for the user to be able to repair these products and to be able to recycle these products. That means that we need to, at the brand, to put all the information about how the products are built, where they come from, and to put that in the hand of consumer to be able to extend the life cycle of the product. The second one is compliance. Generally speaking, we are in a world, and we know it when we talk about digital assets, compliance is an exponential. So the more and more we have rules for every single thing, and because of all the climate change that we have, we see a rising number of regulation that are coming, and the brands have to comply with these rules. And one more time, Web3 and the ability to create auditability on every single piece of content is definitely something that Web3 solves better than a centralized platform. So I hope that I will remember what I have to say. The third one is regaining control over the relation they have with their customer. It's extremely important for a brand to be freed from big tech. We reach a point where when you are a brand, when you want to communicate and to hire new customers and to engage with your existing customer, you have to rely onto a set of big tech platforms like Google, Facebook, and all this platform all around the world, which create a dependency financially and in terms of features. So this is something that they need to address because this is a question of bottom line. So their margin are taken in part by the big tech. So these three very short-term problems and concern has to be addressed really shortly. And I think that Web3 technology can help those brands to transition and to address those problems. This is the basis of what we are doing on a daily basis. It's 2 minutes, so I will not have any slide anymore. What we are doing, and I wanted to share with you some figures about what we do at Arianee. We develop a really base layer, a protocol for brands to be able to issue NFTs that represent the ownership of a product, what we call digital product passport. By the way, there is a regulation that is coming all across Europe, and very shortly, every single brand putting on the European market a product will have to associate information about the product they are selling or distributing digitally, to be able to inform the consumer and to make the circularity possible. So one more time, repairing a product and recycling a product. So what we do as Arianee, we create a very low-level protocol to issue NFT for the ownership, to represent the ownership of a product, to enrich those NFTs. Enrich those NFTs mean adding information all along the life cycle of a product. Let's say you repair a watch, you want to have a stamp that you repair the watch at a certain shop, and you will have this information on chain that is auditable for the next owner of this watch. And third thing, and probably the most important one, our protocol enables the possibility to message a digital passport, so to message an NFT, which means that you can, as a brand, communicate directly with no intermediaries to the owner of the NFT, and this enables basically all the services that you want to create over your product. These are really real use case, real usage for brands solving real problems. And get back to my point on where are the next billion users. We are deeply convinced that rolling out these kind of features, embedding those features into products to the brands, and making it competitive with other solutions, which are basically today Web 2 solutions, very opaque. We have an edge to solve the problem we are discussing about better than all technologies. We today, I will not have a slide. Okay, no problem. But I wanted to show you all the brands we are working with. We have 50 brands using the protocol Arianee today. We exist for 5 years. More than 1 million products were tokenized in terms of ownership last year. We'll probably reach more than 5 million this year. So it's real numbers. If you compare that to maybe the number of owners of Bored Ape, that's another scale. And we think that the real exponential and the real growth and the real adoption will go through brands rather than just staying into the ecosystem by itself. We are launching a new version of the protocol, definitely more open, accessible for any single builder. We definitely want to welcome you and if you have any question about the protocol, we are here. We have a booth. We want to make sure that we provide our ecosystem, so the ecosystem of builders, with all the components and all the relation with the brands, so that you don't have to deal with the relation with all these very complex big corporates, but we provide you with all the tools and all the NFTs that you can play with to create new experiences, to create new possibilities for the brand owner and for the product owners. And I think this is the first time we have that scale of people that own digital assets, with the possibility to communicate with those owners and the possibility to compose with new protocols and new experiences, new possibilities. And the last thing, I wanted to invite you to our hackathon, but it needs a little QR code that is not displayed at the moment. So trust me, we have a hackathon. You can go to our booth and we'll definitely be happy to welcome you. Last thing, if you want information, arianee.org, arianee.org. You have every single information you need. All the documentation is online. It's open source. It's built by an association where all the brands that participate and use the protocol are members. And that's it. Thank you very much for having me today. And I don't know if you have time for question or...
Questions? Anyone? Thank you for the talk. It was amazing. I have two small questions. The first, maybe not small. The first one is, how do you actually onboard so many Web2, typical Web2 users like merchants, people who buy those watches, watch maintainers, all these people? And second one, how do you facilitate the transfer when, for example, a watch is being sold to another user, how the transfer is actually happening? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's basically not all the work we've done over the past years, but a lot. The idea is if you buy a Breitling watch just after the conference, and I'm sure you will do, it's $1,000, nothing. You will get, of course, the real assets, but you will also get the NFT directly in the box you will buy. We pay the fees, of course, for transferring the NFT. We work on different layers, but we make sure that the end consumer doesn't have anything to understand about NFT, doesn't have to buy cryptocurrencies to pay. So we make sure that the brands pay for everyone. And that it's really our place to work with brands to make sure that they pay for it. And for the end user, it's just scanning a QR code and clicking. That's it. Now, for experienced user like you are, you can definitely take your NFT, put it somewhere else, and do whatever you want to with it. But we want to be sure that the first onboarding, we will not ask you to note keywords or whatever cryptographic key. One more time, I think always about my mother when we build the product, and I say, is she able to use it or not? So as long as she's not able to use it, it's not good enough. So all the complexity, all the abstraction is on our side. Now, when it comes to onboarding brands, yes, it's a lot of work. We exist for more than 5 years now. It's very long to create the connection with the brand, to explain the value proposition, and to make sure that we can connect with existing system. Basically, what we do on the back office is to provide all the technology for the brands to plug on the one hand with, let's say, SAP, on the other hand with Salesforce. So we make sure that they pilot the protocol and they pilot all the system very easily with existing software. You will not go to a brand and say, okay, you will replace your CRM, buy another CRM. No, it's not going to happen because you have too much people working with existing software, and that means that educating people, it's too long. So we make sure that we abstract all the complexity on the brand side, we abstract all the complexity on the user side, and we make sure that you as a builder, you can build without having to deal with neither the customer and the brand.
I need to know what is the link between the NFT and the items, the watch.
So it's a digital passport. So think about the passport for a real human. You will not inject a chip in your arm to prove that this is your passport. So we, when it comes to luxury, luxury goods are serialized. So the number written, or it can be there is a lot of different technologies to put a serial number onto a product, and then you will have on your NFT the same serial number. But the reality is that authenticity and counterfeiting is not the primary purpose of making an NFT. The primary purpose is to create a relation with a client. So when you buy a product, you will be given an NFT, and this NFT will unlock, let's say, the warranty for your product, the ability to repair the product, and all the content around the product. So if you don't have the product with the NFT, that doesn't make sense. And if you have the product without an NFT, you are missing something. So it's the duality of virtual and real asset that make it the real experience. I don't know if we have...
Just curious about kind of the construction about how you're doing this, because in the current state of the NFT market, you have an NFT that's minted, it goes on chain, you set the URI function, which basically goes to a link where an asset's stored, typically a JPEG file or a doc file. So in this scenario, when you get into basically going into the supply chain, the CRM, and going all the way back to potentially a farm or wherever the textile or cotton is made from, you're getting into a lot of different points of access and points of transfer and all that kind of stuff. So when you start to get into that, you get into more complexities about how centralized is the system versus decentralized, because typically now you might have a file that's stored on IPFS, but when you start talking about putting multiple data files in that, just kind of curious about how you're thinking about that, and are you still going to be using one centralized, decentralized storage for all those files, or are you just trying to find a way to kind of link that NFT up to all the CRMs in the chain?
Yeah, good question. So decentralization is a trigger, and we don't pretend to be totally decentralized, and we don't want to be. What is really important is the proof of ownership. So the NFT has to rely on technology and architecture that is really decentralized, and that is the only thing that really matters, because you want to be able, as a user, as an owner, to verify where your NFT comes from and who was issuing this NFT. So this has to be totally decentralized. When it comes to the content by itself, actually your NFT is a key to open content that you access to. Some of the content are public, some not, it depends. But this content, of course, it's better probably to rely on to a decentralized storage, and this is what we do. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if this part is decentralized or not, because anyway, the brand will give you access to some services, to some content. If the brand at one point decide not to give you access to these services, it's a question of reputation that doesn't make any sense anymore. So for us, the core decentralization is definitely at the NFT level. And after, yeah, you have many possibilities in terms of content. And I think we are out of time.
Thank you, Frédéric.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frédéric.